Hello, welcome back to the A-Z of Archaeology. Today is the letter J, and that means we're going to be looking at jewellery, or, in a broader sense, personal ornamentation. Now, jewellery, or personal ornamentation, is a vital element of archaeological evidence. It's also actually very, very common, in as much as we find it right from the very oldest times, from the Paleolithic, all the way through human history. Most of the earliest sites of human occupation in Europe have elements of jewellery on them. Often these are in the form of shells, pierced so that they can be hung from a necklace. For the next 40,000 years, things remained very similar, but with an increasing tendency towards a desire for exoticism, that is, items from far away with an exotic look. With new technologies such as metals, some of its earliest applications were in looking good. This is an Iron Age gold torque, for example. Such tendencies only increased and developed further into the Roman age and beyond. Indeed, jewellery often defined one's gender, one's identity, and one's public visage. Jewellery and personal ornamentation maintained their importance throughout the ages in displaying oneself to the world, and some of the most famous examples probably come from ancient Egypt. The most famous of all is probably Tutankhamun's gold, luxurious, lapis lazuli encrusted death mask. Now, all of these different objects have far more than just an intrinsic value to the archaeologist. They can actually tell us something about the people who were choosing to wear them. Choosing what to wear can be a very difficult decision, and this is because we know it matters, because it says something about who we are. This is because, to a certain extent, our body is not our own. The body, and the way it is seen, is defined by society, and the different values that we assign to clothing and different parts of the body comes from the wider world. In this way, a well-maintained body is a reproduction of social values in how it's displayed to the world. If one wants to be accepted, all one need do is reproduce the world around them. This also means that if one wants to stand out, it is very easy to do so. Mohawk hairdos and other physical attributes, such as extreme piercing, are actually a way of using the universal vocabularies of the body in a different way. It's the physical equivalent of swearing. We all know what a swear word is, but not everyone uses it. And it's the same when it comes to different ways of presenting your body. It's an alternative message that we're putting out. So it's by looking at these different vocabularies and the way that people deploy their strategies of how they look that we are able to compare. And in this way, actually, some people stand out as being very different from other people, and other people actually seem to be they are the measuring stick. They are that by which people measure their own normalcy. In other words, they are the standard. Earlier this year, the story of the so-called Gay Caveman was in the press. Now, this particular burial stood out because the things that he had been buried with were different from usual male burials. He had been buried with the grave goods of what seemed to be a woman rather than a man, and in this way he stood out. Now, as much as the press like a good story, he probably wasn't gay, but he was simply different. Another example came to light in 2002, when in Roman Catterick the body of a man had been discovered, again with the grave goods of a woman. Now, at the time, the press jumped on this as an example of Roman cross-dressing, but it seems more likely that this particular gentleman was actually a eunuch priest for a goddess. In life he had dressed and acted probably very much like a woman, and in death people had chosen to bury him that way. Roman Catterick was an extremely diverse place, and this simply serves to highlight that the burials were equally diverse. Now, from one extreme to another, Tutankhamun is known throughout the world, but he is, to a certain extent, is a mystery because he's lost his identity to his burial. All the different goods and the rooms in which he is buried each served a very specific function, and this is because in death he, as the pharaoh, was representing his people to the gods. He was not an individual to a certain extent, he was an entire civilization. It is ironic that we know his name, and yet so many publications are produced every year asking the question, who was this boy king? So, jewellery, or personal ornamentation, has always been important, and it makes sense really because we are social animals, and we need either to be accepted or at the very least noticed by society, or in some cases even rejected. And how we present ourselves is probably the best way of achieving those goals. It's also probably the most visible form of presentation that archaeologists can find, and therefore it's extremely useful to us. So that's been Jay, Jewellery or Personal Ornamentation. Hopefully you found this video interesting and or useful, so feel free to comment below if you have any comments. If you have any questions, just message me and I shall get back to you as soon as is humanly possible. Naturally, please do feel free to subscribe to the channel, and any new videos that I post you'll see first. And also, finally, we do now have a Facebook page. All you need to do is seek out ArchaeoSoup Productions on Facebook, and anything that I can't fit into a video here, either because I'm incredibly busy or because I'm just, probably out, then they'll turn up on that page, and you won't miss a thing. So, thank you very much.